Thank you, Sarah, and everyone who might not know me or our other presenter today. I'm Allie Bright, and we are here with Adam Clevenger, and we are going to go through a preparation session for creating a nomination for the Indiana Philanthropy Awards. Our agenda for today is to do a welcome of myself and also Adam. We're going to talk about what makes a strong nomination, a breakdown of each component of the nomination process, as well as have a discussion and share some examples, and then wrap it up. So this is a reminder that nominations for this award ceremony are now open and they are due June 13th. I am going to say now and also at the end of the presentation that if you are requesting, or when you do request your letters of support for this, that you put it on your calendar to do that by May 30th. That's going to be 2 weeks before the due date for nominations. So that's going to be something emphasized in today's session. One thing that I wanted to do to kind of start off the session is kind of inspire those listening in here on the call to submit a nomination. So I know this is a little weird to do over Zoom, but you can close your eyes and I want you to imagine being at the Indiana Philanthropy Awards ceremony. You are sitting at your table with either your colleagues from your company or your supporters, and you have nominated someone for an award and they won. Imagine sitting at that table, you have your program in your hand and you see the description you gave for that nominee, and you're just so proud of all the work that they've done so far in their life to get to that point. So imagine the person that you nominate walking across the stage, maybe saying a couple of words. You get to take a picture with them and their award and just bask in the amazingness that is philanthropy and all that we do here in Indiana. You can open your eyes, but that is just a little peek of the magic that has been the Indiana Philanthropy Awards ceremony and how amazing it can be to nominate someone for an award. So I'm Allie Bright. I am the donor engagement coordinator at Greater Indy Habitat for Humanity. I have a little, role here in the AFP chapter of Indiana as someone a part of the Philanthropy Awards Committee and a few other committees as well. And I've been a part of AFP for a year now. With us today, we have Adam Clevenger. He is a partner at Loring Sternberg and Associates. He's also the Vice President Board of Directors for Second Helpings. He's a director of the board of directors for Coburn Place Safe Haven, and he's been a past judge of ours for the AFP Indiana Philanthropy Awards. And we're very excited to have him to give some insight during the presentation. So I wanted to do some introductions of the group too. This call, I'm hoping, is more discussion than lecture. So this is just going to kind of get us knowing each other. And so it'll be quick. We're going to choose one person and they're going to say their name, their organization, and who they might, not the person specifically, but who they might nominate. Are they going to nominate? Are you thinking a small business? Are you thinking, actually, we can look at those categories. Are you thinking a lifetime achievement, an outstanding philanthropist, an individual for fundraising professional, volunteer fundraiser, outstanding foundation, outstanding philanthropy group, emerging philanthropist, nonprofit / small business, or a corporation? So I just wanted to show these categories to remind us. You guys all can see it on the nomination form too in the emails we've been getting, but what are you considering nominating? So when I call on someone, they're going to start and then they're going to call the next person. So just make sure you remember, after you share your thoughts of who you might nominate, make sure you call on someone else. So we're going to start with John.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. I was hoping you'd pick me first. My name is John Kretz. I work with St. Richard's Episcopal School. Proud to be on the development team there. And I'm considering nominating for two categories. One is the outstanding small business and nonprofit. Several small businesses in my little community. I'm pretty close to Mass Ave. There's a few bookstores on Mass Ave that we love going to, who've made an incredible impact on the community. And then outstanding emerging fundraiser, because this is an award that we changed the age guidelines, and so historically this nominee has been someone who's been in high school or grade school, and we upped it to 30 years old. So I'm excited to nominate some colleagues that are a little bit younger that are in the fundraising world. And I am going to call on my wonderful co-chair, Cassie.
Thanks so much, John. I was hoping you'd pick me next. My name is Cassie O'Malley, and I co-chair the AFP Awards Committee with John. I am from Children's Theraplay Foundation. And which award category? Well, John, we might be trying to going against each other here, but I was also thinking small business, nonprofit. But I also love outstanding volunteer fundraiser. I probably said that wrong. Fundraising volunteer. I should know the difference between the two, but those are the two I've been keeping my eye on. So just so excited, but I am going to call on, okay, T Browning, or I don't know your full name. Sorry. I'm just going off of what you got there. How are you?
That's great. No, that's fine. I'm Teresa Browning. I'm with the
Teresa.
Indianapolis Public Library Foundation. And I'm working with a former colleague, and we're considering nominating someone for the Outstanding Fundraising Professional, is the category. So I'm particularly interested in knowing, do I have to pull from the database how much that person's actually raised over their lifetime here? And okay, especially since I've only been here 4 years. So I'm supposed to call on somebody. How about Andy?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Allie, and hello, John. It's like alumni day here on the session with some Ascension St. Vincent former colleagues. I'm Andy Zirkle with the Ascension St. Vincent Foundation. We are considering either the Outstanding Philanthropist or Lifetime Achievement, and actually hoping today's session might shed some light on which direction we want to go with the individuals that we're considering for that. So looking forward to that. I don't believe Aaron Silcox Jacobs has been called, so I'll go ahead and pull out that name.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, I'm Erin. I am at Connor Prairie. And we are also thinking about a couple of awards, one being Lifetime Achievement, popular one, and then the second one being, I think Philanthropy Group, volunteer group. I can't remember the exact term, but yeah, one of our volunteer groups at Connor Prairie. Let's see, I'll call on Sarah Nash.
Sarah might actually have headed off. She's actually our administrator for AFP, and she's the only person who's not a volunteer in the group but actually gets paid to do her work. And so we'll end off with Adam introducing himself.
Sure. Well, as Allie already said, I'm Adam Clevenger. I'm a partner with Laureen Sternberg and Associates here locally. We've had the pleasure of sponsoring the awards for more than a decade. And as Ali said, I've been a judge the last 2 years. I'm actually an award recipient myself. I received the Outstanding Fundraising Volunteer Award. Cassie, I'm the same way. I won the award. I still can't remember exactly the title, but Outstanding Fundraising, no, Volunteer Fundraiser. I think that's what it is. I get the benefit of working with a lot of different clients. So I have sent this out to all of my clients and encouraged them all to think of someone. But I've heard of volunteer fundraiser nominations, fundraising professional nominations already coming, or questions coming to me about those. So I'm really excited to see the group of applicants this year.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone so much for giving us an insight of who's here on the call. Our nomination process. This is on the application, but I wanted to go through it because you might find yourself clicking on the nomination and seeing that you have to kind of fill out some stuff before you can go on to the next step. So I want people to know like what is actually going to be required of them. So we have a required 3 to 5 paragraph summary with the rationale for your nomination. That is in addition to the 2 letters of support. So that's another thing I'm going to kind of emphasize in addition to the letters of support. So you will have 2 required letters of support that you will send to afpawards@gmail.com. And they are 1 page each. And I'm going to give some suggestions later in the presentation too on how you can make these diverse from each other and also diverse from that rationale. And it's going to be from a host of, whether it's an organization or if it's someone representing different supporting organizations of the person you are nominating. So as you can see here, you're kind of looking at 2 different parts of the process. And for those who have filled out a nomination form before, you can kind of expect it to take about 30 minutes. It is some information such as the name of who you're nominating, your own information, and then this 3 to 5 paragraph summarization. So that's probably the bulk of your time on top of asking for those 2 letters of support. Those letters of support we're going to dive into a little deeper here. So each should tell a different story. As Cassie alluded to, we've kind of seen in the past some repetition. We want each building on each other, not repeating, and we want them to give different perspectives. That is something that we've gotten feedback from our judges, and there are some common pitfalls with some vagueness or some letters from the same organization. And this is one of those points where I wanted to kind of call on Adam and see what other pitfalls he's seen as a judge within either the nomination paragraph or the letters of support.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Allie. You've summarized some of the really key points, and not to run afoul of one of these, because I'm going to probably repeat some of them, and we already said repetition not good. But it probably goes without saying, you would think, but reading and following the directions in the nomination form, and answering those questions fully. I think, as I reflect on the past 2 years, I can think of a couple of examples where like, did they read the questions? Did they complete the answers? So I think that's an important piece. I know you'll talk about specific outcomes soon, but I think your point about the letters building upon the application itself, I think, is really an important one. We want to see demonstrated in the application or the nomination package, the well-rounded involvement of the nominees. We know that one organization or one person is the nominator, but we trust, because we know Indiana Philanthropists, they're involved in a lot of things. So it's helpful, I think, to demonstrate all the different ways that they are contributing to philanthropy in Indiana. And I think that's a great opportunity for those letters of support. Some of the pitfall, again, I can't highlight enough that avoid the 2 letters from the same organization, because we've had that in the past, and unfortunately this doesn't give us a lot more information that we already don't have in the nomination itself. So I encourage that. I think the other piece is think very thoughtfully about who you request that letter of recommendation from, and thinking about and giving that person perhaps some points that you're covering in your nomination. Maybe even share the nomination narrative with the person that you are asking for a letter of support from, so they have a sense of what's being said. So again, they don't repeat. They can talk about other points, or even giving them the points that you would like them to consider as part of their letter of support.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate your insight there. And on
Of
the
course.
next slide, we're going to talk about some tips. So focusing on impact and outcomes. So I know Teresa mentioned, am I going to have to figure out the numbers that that person raised at the Indiana Public Library? I think yes, take the time to do that. We love having our outcomes, our impact, and it's easy to see that in numbers. But you can also use specific stories. Last year we had some amazing stories, especially from our nominees for volunteering. Sharing some stories of their impact was really moving. And so there is always really good ideas around using quotes, around getting as much as you can that can focus on those outcomes. And like we keep nailing into the board here, letters should complement, not copy the narrative. So I loved what Adam said of sharing your narrative. I think that's really smart because you can submit the nomination before you request those letters of support. They do not have to be submitted at the same time. The letters of support can be submitted at a later point to an email that I'm going to share and also has been sent out a couple of times. I wrote out here like an example, and I actually am going to show us a table in a second too that you can screenshot, I can send out individually, but you can think of if you're nominating an outstanding volunteer to maybe they're a CEO on a campaign that they're a part of is going to be the one who submits the initial nomination. And we love seeing that too. We love seeing organizations as the group nominating a person. And so for Ascension St. Vincent, for example, they will then be listed on the program. Ascension St. Vincent nominated this person. And I think that is fantastic. And then the letters can be more of an individual voice, a fellow volunteer, someone who benefited from the personal impact. Those are two different letters that are going to give amazing, diverse voices to this overall package of a nomination. And on the next slide, we made this table for you guys. It's kind of a lot here, but you already told me which of the categories you're thinking of nominating for. And so you can just find your row and then kind of see who we suggested could be different, diverse perspectives. So feel free to take a moment if you want to take a picture, screenshots, or later on you can email or ask for this and I will send it out. But if we look at the outstanding foundation row, you can see that you might have the narrative be a perspective that more talks about the grant making that they do and the community impact. Then the letter might be a grantee for the nonprofit. And then lastly, a community leader that works closely with that foundation. So those are just a great way that if you even write it out yourself, kind of compare what are we going to get from each of these. And you can even ask that from the person you're requesting the letter from. Say, we'd really like you to hone in on this piece of their impact. We've already got the other stuff covered. Can you hone in here on this piece? So on the next slide, we're going to talk about a couple of examples we wrote here. And Teresa, again, this is where those numbers come in for a strong nomination. In her decade-long, she helped 150 volunteers, raising over $75,000. I think, all of us have taken some English classes in our lives. We know the difference here between strong and weak cases for support. And so this is just kind of a very straightforward way to put that effort in so that our judges, we want them to have a hard time this year choosing who to pick. We want it to be a very big challenge to pick between these nominations. And on the next slide, we are going to do more of a discussion here. So
Ali,
maybe,
real quick, if
no,
I
Adam,
could,
yes.
yeah,
Sorry.
if I could. No, you're totally fine. So on this slide as well as the previous slide. So on this one, real quick. So yeah, Teresa, we definitely do look at numbers. And I think when I think about the judges, the past few years where I've been involved, these are folks in our community who know the community. Some past awardees. There are several returning judges. Sometimes there are new judges that come in as well. So it is sometimes difficult, as Ali said. And I think sometimes when we look at, I would say, especially for that fundraising professional category, we all know it is about the numbers. So we do, we do look at that. I think, though, because we do know the community and many of us have been involved for so long, I think we can also distinguish. We're not going to we will not hold against a nominee because maybe it's a smaller organization versus a large organization and different budgets. We take that into consideration in the discussion. So, but that demonstrating that impact like we always expect on grant requests and in other case statements is really important. Allie, if you'll go back one more, or Cassie, if you'll go back one more slide, I did want to say one thing to address Andy's question around lifetime achievement and outstanding philanthropist. So just to give everyone a bit of insight, judges, we review all the applications or nominations rather separately, individually. We rank them, we score them and then rank them individually, and then we come together as a group to discuss. And that's where the real work begins, because there's often a lot of discussion. And I will say it's very tricky sometimes for us even to really distinguish between what's an outstanding philanthropist versus a lifetime achievement. How I would characterize these would be thinking about outstanding philanthropists in terms of perhaps a one-time event, right? A major gift, a meaningful gift, whatever that is. But it's sort of a once in not a once in a lifetime, but a once in time example. That could also be someone who has a more limited impact versus the lifetime achievement, which we're looking at the entire lifetime, right? We're looking at an entire career of giving and volunteering, perhaps even statewide impact. So we have, as judges, I learned this the first year I did this. As judges, we have moved people from category to category to ensure that everything's equitable, or maybe we feel that someone deserves a different category based off of the information that is presented in the nomination. So I hope that helps a little bit distinguish between that outstanding philanthropist and lifetime achievement from a judge's perspective, at least.
Yes, definitely, Adam. Thank you so much for adding that in.
Of course.
And so that is perfect just to jump us into a brief discussion here. If you need some suggestions, if you think you've got it already now nailed down who you think you're going to ask for letters, and again, that can just be generally, it doesn't have to be specific, but you can give examples, or even within your examples, what unique story do you think that person could tell, and which component do you feel maybe the least confident about to discuss? So we can jump into any of these three questions if someone wants to just unmute if they have specific questions now, or if someone wants to give an example. I know for myself, I am going to be nominating a nonprofit, and so we are looking for a unique story from a board member who has had an impact from this nonprofit, and then we're also going to get probably a volunteer or a donor's perspective as well. And the donor, we're hoping, can give a unique story about how it makes them feel to help this organization. So yeah, that's my example. Anyone?
So by that token, then if we're looking at an outstanding fundraiser, which I'm sure none of you will be guessing who that might be in our organization if it were from us. We were thinking about, a former board president who's worked with this individual, and perhaps a donor who could describe, how, maybe their relationship with the organization has grown over time because of the work with this fundraiser.
That sounds amazing. I love that.
So is that the right kind of fit in obviously if our narrative works along with that as well?
Yes, I think that's perfect, Teresa. Thank you so much for asking.
I wish it was my idea, but it was me.
It's okay. Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions right now, or we can?
I've got two quick questions.
Good.
And first of all, thank you, Adam, for the clarification on helping us with that discernment process. First of all, I think I 95% know the answer to this question. For the letters of support, 2 is the number. It's no more, but it's also no less, but also no more. It's 2. Is that correct?
Yes, it is 2.
Okay.
We decided that in the past when one would just come in, it just wasn't as comparable to the other applications.
But you don't want 12 either, do you?
No, but thank you. That would be.
Cassie just had a stroke, I think.
We did last year have one nominee John or Cassie, do you remember, was it 7 or 8 letters of support?
It was, yeah, I think it was 7 letters
Yeah.
of support with their application.
Yes, it made a statement. I will say that.
Oh, I'm sure. The other question is, and again, it's related to this discernment on lifetime achievement versus outstanding philanthropists, and it mentions for lifetime achievement individuals or families. So we are potentially looking at a family that would include, you know, the matriarch and patriarch, and also now kids who are involved. But I've seen in the past recipients, it generally is couples. It's husband and wife, maybe not necessarily including kids, but is an entire family unit that now includes the direct involvement of children. Would that play any role in this?
I think if I can start, you know, on that one, I think absolutely. I think it'd be fantastic to have, you know, the Kretz family up there as, you know, the recipient of that Lifetime Achievement Award, husband and wife, and the kids as well. I think it'd be great, and I can only imagine what kind of stories you can tell. You know, what the parents have done with their philanthropy over the years, and how their kids were integrated into that process, and have maybe taken over some of it, or whatever it looks like, you know, for your family specifically. But I'd be in huge favor of it. I'm curious, Adam, your perspective as a judge.
I feel like this is like bordering Senate confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court justice, and I probably shouldn't comment on a pending application. But I don't think there would be any reason not to. I can't imagine there would be a because some have been individuals, some have been couples, that would be the rule that the judges would follow. So I would not discourage you from that, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy, for asking. That's a great question. Did anyone have any other questions while we're here? Okay.
Are you going to
So
address word counts on?
Oh, well, so the paragraph is 3 to 5 paragraphs. So there's not a word count. When you submit the nomination itself, it might. Do you know, Cassie, if it maxes you out on anything with character wise?
That's a great question. I'm going to triple check that. I want to say no, but let me triple check that right now, Teresa.
And then on the letters, it's just 1 page. So then that's just going to be, I guess, if you want to make it the smallest font, single spaced, for 1 page, just if you figure out formatting that way. But Cassie's going to check for us. But that's a great question, Teresa. Great.
And we can keep going. I'll type it in the chat.
Yes, that is perfect. Okay. So we are getting towards the end. We're right at 5 o'clock. So this is perfect. Just a quick recap. We talked about those paragraphs that you have to write that are separate from your letters. We are going to share in the chat also a customizable request template that you can utilize if you want for requesting those letters of support. There's actually 2 versions as well, and you can pick which one you like better or just be inspired by them. And we definitely recommend, of course, you can ask for your letters of support today, but by May 30th would be best for you. And those nominations are due June 13th. So when I put in here that if there's any questions, we kind of just went over them. So definitely if there's any other questions still that are on our brains. And Cassie, if you don't mind, the link for the template is in the speaker notes of this presentation, if you don't mind putting that in the chat for us. And then the award ceremony itself is going to be on November 12th this year at 11:15 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is going to be at the same location, right, John, at the Indiana
Roof ballroom, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
Roof Ballroom.
Yeah.
And so we're really excited. You guys can save the date for November 12th. And we are excited to get those nominations in. So, and Cassie, if you can include the where it says copy as well, that will push the person when they click the link to create a copy of this document. So thank you everyone so much.
Fancy. And the last thing I'll say, Allie, not to steal any of your thunder, we confirmed our keynote speaker just a few weeks ago, and we can't quite share that yet, who it's going to be, but just know it's someone who's a really big deal in the world of philanthropy, and we're super, super excited. So be on the lookout for some messaging there for our keynote speaker this year. And as Allie said, save the date. Registration and tickets will open up in late August, early September for that event.
Perfect. Thank you everyone so much for being here. Thank you, Adam, for bringing your perspective as a past judge. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allie.